greatest podcast.
MW. We back up in this thing. You can't roll with us if your last name don't got no loyalty. Podcast party poppin', but you already knew. I've been rolling with these folks. This that Monday night crew. Millennials versus the world like. Millennials versus the world like you. Millennials versus the world like. Millennials versus the world like you. Millennials versus the world. Millennials versus the world like you. Millennials versus the world like. Millennials versus the world like you.
Yo, what up, man? Welcome back to another segment of the Monday Night Crew. It's your boy K. Mims, man. I got my bro Lewis with me. The ladies of the show, Princess Asia, Brittany. What's happening, y'all? How y'all feeling tonight, man? How y'all feeling?
Hey.
Good.
Hey, man. Did y'all see what happened to my boy? No, that's not my boy. Did y'all happen to see what happened to Diddy?
Yeah.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's wild.
You definitely have to clarify
man,
that's not your boy, real quick.
Yeah. It's rough. It's rough. I'm not canceling his music. But tonight, man, I don't want to waste no time, man. I want to hop straight into it. But I'm gonna start with a scenario because I think it's very, very, very juicy. So let me give context, right? So I was doing something and I know it sounds like I say this a lot. I was debating with someone. And what happened was, let me give context. Obviously I've been married for a long time. This young lady is dating. And she said a couple things. We started talking about money. And when we started talking about money, she said, I'm not going to ask a man for money until I marry him. And my response was like, he should be like, people don't agree with this, but like, he's going to be acting like a husband before y'all get married. So you should that responsibility may not be that bad. So now I'm going to read the scenario. All right. So I've been with someone for a while now, 14 months. I'm 23 and have my own. He's 28. We don't have issues or argue. However, my last relationship was very transactional. My current boyfriend, which is a 28-year-old, doesn't mind helping me out if I do or don't ask. My issue is I don't relate responsibility to advancement. Am I wrong for allowing him to take care of things but still move other things at my pace? So I'm not sure. So the question is she wrong for allowing him to step up and take care of things, but everything else moves at her pace?
No.
Did she? Yeah. Go ahead, Bert.
No. Is she wrong? No, I mean, okay. So she's saying that can still handle her own and he can take care of things if need be. Is that what she's asking? Financially?
The question is if he's taking things when she asks, he's willing to step up or he's willing to do certain things. She's saying even though he takes care of stuff in that form, all other lanes only move at the speed she wants it to. So when they become exclusive, physically, meeting families, everything else is at her pace, but she's allowing him to take care more in the cure, quote unquote, responsibilities to look out for her. I'm not talking about dating. I'm saying take care of things that she's responsible for, but she wants to still move at her own pace everywhere else, but she doesn't want that to stop.
That sounds like a plan to me.
Oh my God.
I mean,
Stop it. No.
If he's gonna do it, I don't see anything wrong with it.
No. Okay. Asia, Lewis, before I say what I say.
I mean, I think that I get her point. Like, her whole point is that if he starts doing these things, she does not want him to think that just because he's doing these things, it means that now she's going to want to do things quicker, faster, all that stuff. So I don't think it's a problem if it's like, hey, you can do these things because you want to do them, but I'm not, just because you pay a couple bills or you do all these things, if I still don't want to move quicker, then I'm not going to move quicker. For me, it doesn't seem like she's like, and now I'm not going to make things exclusive or all these things. It just seems like the money is not going to then speed up that process.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Lewis, what's your thoughts, brother, man?
Says the girl that took an Apple Watch. So what I was so
Hey, don't do her like that, bro. Don't do
I'm
my partner
sorry.
like that,
I'm
bro.
sorry. I just can't. I ain't letting it go. All
Yeah,
right.
don't do
So
her like that.
y'all know I hold grudges. So no, I think it really depends on what his relationship is with money and doing for
Mhm.
someone. Because to like for myself, it's an emotional response that I have when I make any decision regarding my finances or money to make an effort into paying for things. So, but to someone else, it may not mean as much, right? So I think that the responsibility that the lady shares is if it's an emotional response or tool or something that means a lot to her that she's not willing to give to him in that same capacity, I think it's wrong. But if it isn't, then it is what it is. But that's my thought.
Okay, so I'm and let me give my disclaimer that I'm not saying women control their body and everything else. I think you can't do that, yo. Like if we together for more than a year and you're making me take on more responsibility, in my opinion, if I'm taking on more and I'm doing more, and if you do or don't ask, I'm still stepping up. Like, how come that's so? The only thing I disagree with from what she said is that her last relationship was transactional. So she's bringing that into this relationship, saying like, there's certain things I don't want to do. But like, how am I stepping up? And let's be real, like every relationship, you step up to get more from a person. So I can keep going up in this lane, but nothing, no other aspect of our relationship can grow. But I got to keep giving. That
She
just don't make sense to me.
But that's not what
Well,
she said. She didn't.
Yeah,
She
I
didn't
don't.
say that it couldn't grow. She said that it would have to go at her own pace. That's number one. Number
Hmm.
two, she's not making him do anything. So if
Yeah.
he decided to slow down just as much as she slowed down, like they'd have to agree. Because I mean, nobody's holding a gun to your head saying that you got to pay for these things. I think
Mhm.
that's where where it comes into. That's why I feel like she's not wrong about it because he's
Mhm.
doing it willingly. If that's a part of who he is, great. I'm going to take that, but I need you to know, like, I'm still not there yet to move to the next level, right? Like, she doesn't have to move that speed that process up.
Mhm.
all right. So,
And,
question. Okay, go ahead, Princess. I'm sorry.
no, I was gonna say, and Keenan, do you just know more about the situation? Like because there was a
No,
debate, do you know more of the backstory? So that's why
no,
we're a
but
little.
no, I wasn't debating. So the thing I was debating was this. I only debated that a guy that likes you, that wants to marry you, will start acting like a husband far before he asks you. Like some of the things women are worried about, a dude will start doing before he's actually a husband. So like being responsible, being exclusive, respecting you, starting to like not mind taking care of things. That was my debate. I was saying I think it's a stupid mentality to wait until you get married for certain things to happen. You need to make sure that these things happen beforehand so you know how somebody moves. You don't like put the ring on the finger and start figuring out certain things afterwards. That was my debate. When she brought it to me, I stopped her and said, text that to me so I can ask the crew. But my issue was she two things. When I didn't say anything else about it. When I read it, this was my issue. And I may just be wrong perspective. She said she doesn't relate responsibility to advancement. And literally every um every transaction in life, business, career, whatever you want to call it, is it not that you take on more responsibility to get further?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm not doing more for you to get more. So how do you not relate responsibility to advancement? I don't get that.
I see what you're saying, Keenan, but I think putting it in context to what she's saying, because I feel like what you just said, it can be taken out of like the full picture of what she was saying. Now, I could be hearing it wrong and reading it differently, but the way
Mhm.
that I'm reading it is like, and I mean hearing it is like, because I was in a previous relationship that was transactional, right? Meaning like the I do, you do, all the things, right? Clearly that relationship did
Mhm.
not work out because she said my
Mhm.
ex. Then she said my current boyfriend wants to then do things for me, which reminds her of the past relationship that was transactional. And so because of that, she's like, well, I don't want it to be the same thing that I just left. So if he wants to do that, cool. But that I'm not trying to do the same thing that I did in that past relationship. Does that make sense? So for me, I was taking it from like she was saying that only because of what she said previously.
Okay, I get that. So does the 14 months mean anything? The fact that we've been stabbing at this for 14 months?
Have they been stabbing?
I didn't ask that, but I'm assuming that's what bro getting at though.
And are these
Yeah,
bills that are being paid?
So when she sent it to me, I didn't ask anything else because I didn't want to have more context when I brought it. Honestly speaking, because it wasn't like we were sitting down somewhere. It was somewhat in passing, and I didn't have time to sit in the debate. And I said, send it to me. So I really didn't. I just think the mentality behind like creating healthy relationships, a lot of stuff. It's almost like we've had this conversation before, and I'm not gonna dig too deep into it. It's like people have sex, say test drive the car before you get married to it, but in every other regard won't put yourselves in situations to know how somebody moves. And I just think it's a flawed pitch to not pitch. It's a flawed mindset to say, oh, you're doing more, but don't expect more. I ain't saying that you can't pump the brakes. That's just what I read from it. Like, you're doing more, but don't expect more. Doing a little more, but don't expect more. I'm like, any person with sense, I'm like, why am I still like, what are we doing? That don't make sense to me. If I'm actively pursuing you.
So if I may, it's like, hey, you can say I'm gonna do it at my own pace, but eventually, because he's doing more, it is gonna come with some expectation at some point, and it's naive to believe that that's not going to be the case.
For sure, hands down.
I agree with that.
You ever went to
he has every right to pump the brakes.
Mm-hmm.
Man.
She put the accountability back on him, but in the same sense, if you accept it, it's going to come up.
But I don't think she's going to continuously accept the higher whatever he's bringing over X amount of time without speeding up her process at some point. Like, he's not about to be putting out for 2 years and she's still, oh, let's not be exclusive yet, or let's not take it. I don't think that's the mentality that she has, but it might, like Asia was saying, this might be a healing process for her, trying to figure herself out first, right? But he's still willing to do these things because he does see her as a potential wife or whatever the case may be. That's okay. I just think there's time limits to anything, whether y'all stamp it or not. Mentally, there's a mental note there that people are just they're not going to do things forever.
Okay. Any more thoughts on the scenario of responsibilities relating to advancement? No. All right. So we are going to. So I don't know if y'all recently watched The Breakfast Club, man, and Ray J got on and talked about a potential reunion tour with Brandy and Monica. Monica got hot about it, but we gonna switch up the vibe and not just talk about that. Which reunion tour would do the best numbers, or which reunion tour would you absolutely have to go to out of these three? Brandy and Monica, Destiny's Child, or Drake, Wayne, and Nicki?
Destiny's Child, hands down for me. But you knew that already.
I know, that's why I'm not even responding to you. I'm just going.
Oh wait, do they have Latoya and what's homegirl's name?
Latavia.
Which Destiny Child would you rather see, Lewis?
It'd have to be all five. It would have to be them five, but the other girl, she.
I'd say
ain't nobody
Farrah.
think about Farrah.
Yeah, but but I would go if you add Latoya and Latavia and Michelle, I would go see that. That would be my one.
Yeah, bring all
What?
Yeah.
Asia, Brittany.
I'm gonna go with Destiny's Child too. I feel like so Drake, Nicki, and Wayne are last for me. As much as I absolutely love them, I love them, but they're last because I feel like Destiny's Child is like, it's one of those classic movies that you just want to rewatch again. And I know Brandy and Monica too, but it doesn't compare to Destiny's Child for me anyway.
And the fact that Drake, Nicki, and Wayne are all still making music.
Yeah.
Like, granted, the members of Destiny's Child are still making music. However, like, them as a group, like, you can't beat that. Brandy and Monica still making music.
Yeah.
Monica's on tour right now with Nicki. Like,
so are y'all saying the reunion is great because we don't hear from those other members anymore? That's why it would be more sought after, or are you just saying their music catalog in general?
for me, it's all of the above.
I'm not a crazy, like, I know I'm not. I see why people say Destiny's Child. I would go Drake, Wayne, and Nicki personally. But Destiny's Child, I damn sure ain't doing the old group, Lewis. No offense to them. I just know more of the three. Like the three. I just know more of theirs. Like I wasn't really into. Yeah, like where did you get into that, bro?
I'm an R&B thug, boy.
Yeah, but I just want to know, like, weren't we like 6 when they was in the group of four?
You was 6, I was 10, 11. So I think, but I'm gonna be for real, man. Like I'm a real R&B guy, and man, I mean, I would be, mesmerized by their, not only their videos, but some of the songs they had. It was dope, man. It was great Dark Child production. I mean, it was dope. They had a lot of stuff behind them. You know what I mean? They had a machine behind them, and it was incredible.
Yeah.
So
they can all sing harmonies.
Man, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
I was gonna say,
single last one of them can sing.
I was gonna say this too. I've grown to respect Kelly Rowland so much as I've become an older adult. People don't realize how much success that she's had. She's the first one to win a Grammy outside the group. People don't realize that. She won a Grammy before Beyonce. She had more success as a solo artist before Beyonce did.
Yep.
And she overseas, her dance albums, like her dance pop music albums have outsold many artists. And she's extremely popular. So I mean, you got to put respect on their name. And I'm a huge fan of what they've done, for real.
And Kelly had a little mean stint with, like, when she came back out as a. You talking about with Motivation and all that, Louis?
Check this out. Go look it up. She was putting out R&B albums in the R&B singles in the U.S. going #1, and she was putting out pop or dance albums overseas and going number one over there. She was killing it on both charts, doing it 2 different ways. People go look it up. People don't give her the respect that she deserves, man. She's had a lot of success as a solo artist. A lot.
Sure.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like I'm gonna have to see her on tour overseas because she still tours. She's just over there. You're not gonna catch her in the U.S.
Yep, she's popular overseas. You gotta look it up. Yeah, look it up.
She was just in Australia.
What happened with that group?
Didn't she put that group, June's Diary?
Yeah, June's Diary. That's where Normani came from.
I didn't know that. I didn't know none of that about Kelly.
Come on, man.
For real. No, I didn't. I love her though. I think her music was dope. So I'm an R&B guy, but I was about to lie. I have done that.
Were you gonna say you never listen?
No, I was gonna say like some of the female artists, like the Mary J. Blige's of the like I was never. No disrespect to them. Destiny Child just wasn't my. I listened to them, but I'm not. I couldn't tell you outside of like the last
Say My
album.
Name.
Yeah, like Cater. No, I know that, but I'm saying like the Cater to Me album, Cater to You. That whole like that. That ain't me. I'm sorry. Like I love their music, but I'm not gonna be like, oh, keep that on repeat. If I'm in the car riding, I'm like, oh, keep going. It ain't no knock to them. I'm just saying me personally.
So what's your choice? You said Drake.
Yeah,
Wayne,
I would
right?
go.
Okay.
Yeah, I would go there. I would go there. Even though I am an R&B guy more than rap, I would go there though.
Asia, did you say?
Asia didn't go.
Yeah, Asia didn't go.
No, I didn't go.
Asia, you be quiet with it, trying to get up out of there.
No, that's not true. To be honest, my mic was acting crazy, so I was trying to connect it to my headphones. But I'll be with y'all with Destiny's Child because the more I thought about it, I feel like if I were to turn on the radio like right now and like a song by Brandy or Monica came on, I wouldn't have the same reaction as if one of the old school Destiny's Child songs came on. I would be more like, oh yes, like that's my song. But and to be honest, I would just go to Brandy and Monica because I still believe that beef is going to be forever and the tensions are going to be high and they're going to try to outsing each other anyway. It's going to be more like a versus battle than anything else. So yeah, and I've seen Drake in concert. I've never been pleased, so I'm good off there.
Dang.
Okay.
Yeah, but Brandy and Monica is definitely second for me.
Yeah.
Love both of them.
Yeah.
Hey, Princess, you need to be a DJ, yo.
You said I need a what?
You need to be a DJ.
I make a mean playlist
like
for
that,
sure.
Yeah, but you gotta get the scratching in there. But all right, we're gonna transition to the topics of the night. I'm gonna hand it over to my partner.
All right, y'all, we gonna get into it. Y'all ready?
Yep.
Get them.
Y'all don't seem ready, but that's okay.
We ready.
Get them.
Okay, good.
Lewis put his fingers together like this. He's ready to argue.
So we're gonna like kind of switch the topics and like we always love having fun, but I think it's always meaningful when we get to really have like those real like conversations. You know what I mean? Like conversations with your cousins at your grandma's house. And so thinking about just all of us, obviously we're adults, we have so many different responsibilities and obligations and things like that. How do y'all protect your peace and prioritize yourselves with still having to hold down all your responsibilities and all of that? Like, is it even a priority for y'all?
Get them.
Got to create boundaries.
What up, Jay? Did you hear the question?
What up, Jay?
Yeah, what's up, y'all? What's up? I didn't hear the question.
Jay.
Hey, what's up, y'all?
Can you say it one more time for him, Asia?
Yeah. Just with us like being adults and having a lot of responsibilities and obligations, how do we protect our peace and prioritize ourselves? And is that even a real priority for us?
Louis, that was you to answer, right?
Yeah, so you got to create boundaries. Like I'm in a unique point in my life where I'm, in school, I'm working, I'm rehabbing, I'm doing this with y'all and traveling. And I think that what I've come to realize is that you need balance within that. Sometimes the travel's for my family, sometimes it's for me, right? Sometimes it's for my wife. School, that's for me. That's something I'm sure prioritizing for myself. I feel like you have to create boundaries within the things that are necessary, but also the things that you enjoy or you get, happy, find your happiness in, momentarily. So I would say create boundaries is where you find it, because once I feel like I'm out of balance or I'm giving too much to my family, I start to resent them when they don't reciprocate the gratitude that I feel like they should display. If I'm giving too much to my job, the same thing, right? Or I find myself not being as effective as a leader, right? And then every little thing is pissing me off. And if I'm giving too much to myself, then my quality of work goes down, or I have to, invest more time in spending with my children or my wife, etc. So I think it's finding balance, but creating boundaries within each thing and being intentional about every area and aspect of your well-being.
Good.
That's good.
That's really good.
Yeah, definitely those boundaries. Like you really can't pour from an empty cup. And when you're like pulled all over the place and you have a lot of things going on, sometimes you just have to say no. Sometimes you just don't answer the phone, and that's okay. And you have to get to a point where you know that it's okay, because you know that you're doing what's best for you. And a lot of times that's hard because you care about all those other things and all those people, but you have to put yourself first.
Mm-hmm. Britt, what you think?
I knew you was gonna call on me. I could tell y'all the good answer, but I don't practice it, so I can't speak from experience. But it is something that I'm trying to get better at. I have a terrible habit of getting to the bottom, like rock bottom, sucked dry, And that's when I start to protect my peace. Why? Because I can't go no more.
Mm.
Like I have to. I literally, my battery is red, and I have to plug it in order to recharge myself. So it's very unhealthy. It's an unhealthy habit, but that's how I end up saying no, or my body physically tells me like, you can't do this, sit down, or else I'm gonna have to show you otherwise, right? One thing that I heard Lewis say that I preach almost every week and really should be practicing it is being intentional when you set the boundaries, because a lot of people talk about it, right? And they say, oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, or finding self-fulfillment, finding what makes you happy, and self-care and all this stuff. Yeah, we can talk about it, but are we really doing it? Are we intentional with it? Like, how much are we pouring into each part of our lives that we're just, kind of finding the balance? That's hard. As adults in general, it's hard to find the balance. Sometimes we up here and something else is way down here. So again, it's, for me, it's something that I'm working on. So I can't really say that this is what I do to protect my peace, because I'm on full burnout mode. But I agree with Princess and Lewis on setting those boundaries and being intentional with them.
Can I ask you a question though, real quick?
Yeah.
As you're on your way to said bottom, do you know that you're trending downward, or it doesn't hit you until you hit bottom?
Yes. I know. I only know because there's a lack in something. So like if work is getting all of my attention, my children are like, "Mommy," or if my kids are getting all of my attention, then work is like, "Brittany, you're drowning. We need this turned in, do this, do that." So I notice when I'm there's not a healthy balance there. I just don't do anything about it.
Mm.
Gotcha.
Jay.
I think I agree with all three of y'all, but definitely Brittany, I want to say something. Keenan, that was a great question. For me, I never recognized what that bottom was until I got there. And it was like, oh shit, I'm drained. All of those things, because how I was raised is you make sure everybody else around you is good, and then like you make sure yourself is good last. And I used to think that was a healthy way of thinking. Then when I became older, like you said, setting those boundaries, and like you said, it was very important, Louis, being intentional with those boundaries, and and knowing the difference and understanding your limit. So Princess said like saying no. That was tough for me. I used to say no because I'm like, at the end of the day, like, nah, I can take care of that. Even if I was a little tired, it's like somebody might call me and be like, hey Jake, can you help me move? Yeah, I'll help you, bro. I'm not thinking that, damn, I'm drained from the whole week and I've been doing this, but I'm just thinking that I still have something in the tank to help somebody else. So now what I do is I'll be sitting in the living room watching a movie. I'll take my phone and put it in the room on the charger, close the door so that way I'm not even like entertained by it. And I realize that's helping me. And realizing that those boundaries are helping me with my peace. And I used to feel guilty for doing things for myself, and like you said, like trying to make yourself feel comfortable, trying to make yourself feel like, okay, you almost feel guilty when you do stuff for yourself because it's like everybody else around you, it low key feels like they're suffering, but in reality, if you don't do those things, you won't be the best version of yourself for them. And once I learned that, I think that's when my life changed.
Yep.
For sure.
Good.
So I ain't gonna try to be all long winded, but this topic, like this thing stays in my mind a lot. Like I don't know if I believe in balance. You know what I mean? Like, and when I say that, a lot of people say like, two things on this side, two things on that side. I think like balance looks like the ebbs and flows of life. You know what I'm saying? So like with my obligations and responsibilities, I feel like because my life is peaceful, I can sacrifice my peace at times, knowing that I'll get back to it in a little bit. Like I think sometimes it's hard to be hyper focused on self and still gain from everything else that you're doing. So I think for me, like I am a type of person. Tell me what I got to do. Tell me what you need from me, so I can tell you if I can or can't do it, and I can make sure you good. But whatever you tell me, so because we're talking about obligations and responsibilities, whatever you tell me, make sure you need it. Because once I'm done doing it, I'm not doing nothing else. So for me, I just I have a hard. Now I'm being real, bro. I have a hard time believing in like I'm not saying you can't. I'm not saying I have a hard time believing in peace. I have a hard time believing in peace is like a state. I think peace is more of a life thing. So my gratitude brings me in chaotic moments, no matter how stressed I am, like knowing that my life is peaceful brings me back down to earth in the moments. You know what I mean? Like, because in reality, a lot of my stress ain't the stress that a lot of other people are dealing with if they are facing mental health challenges, or they are facing financial difficulty, or they are facing, grief and things of that nature. Right now in this moment in time, those aren't my obstacles. You know what I mean? So I'm able to sacrifice that because my life is peaceful, if that makes sense.
Yeah, can I say something to that? For
Yeah.
me, I had to realize that because I think me finding my peace was a little weird for certain people around me, because my work-life balance is very hectic. Y'all know me. Y'all already know
So,
I travel almost every week.
are you home now?
I am. Hey, look, barely, but I got to leave out next week. But still, that's no here nor there. But like, just being home and like realizing that I travel a lot, and when I come home, it's hard for me to date because I travel so much. So it's like when I come home, like the first thing on my mind is my kids, because I hadn't seen them. And then it's like trying to incorporate that with dating somebody. I can see how that offends them, because it's like, well, dang, I haven't seen you either. But in my mind, I'm thinking, yeah, I haven't seen my kids either. So it's like working that dynamic. But I think it's tough for me because I find peace in just as long as I'm home and I see my girls, I'm okay. You know what I'm saying? Like I get to do things with them. But I know that kind of makes my dating life suffer, because it's like I'm really peaceful as long as I see my girls. I know that sounds bad, but it's like as long as I see them, like, nothing else really matters at the moment.
It's not bad at all.
That's not bad at
Right,
all,
but I'm
bro.
saying it is bad. Like I guess when you talk to somebody, because they don't feel prioritized, and that's not my intention. But I think where I'm at in my life, I'm trying to find ways to work around that.
Oh, I know it's back on you, Asia. I'm gonna say something after you go, because I want to say something to Jay.
Yeah, no, Jay, I think for you, I think that's so like my thing is that even though that they want to feel like a priority, they're never going to be as much of a priority as your children. That's
Asia,
just
see, I'm trying not to ask. Ooh, I got a really good question.
I just feel like that. Like it's especially the age that your girls are. Like
Absolutely,
that's just people know that you are, especially because you're an active dad. I feel like that should be expected. I think the sad part is that there are so many fathers that are not active. So sometimes when people hear like, "Oh, I'm dating a dude," with children, it does not correlate the same way as like, "Oh, he's like really, really an active dad." Like I don't.
yeah.
I think that we're finding out as a society what that actually means. But I think for too long, like there haven't been active dads, and it sucks. So that when people say like, "Oh yeah, I have kids," they don't think like, oh, so like your kids are gonna be like you're really gonna see them. You know what I mean? Like really spend time
Yeah.
with them. So I think that's like
Like to the
yeah.
point to where it's gotten so bad to where it's like I co-parent, right? So I have
Mhm.
my kids every other weekend, right? But sometimes I travel so much that it's like even if it's my off weekend, my girls call me like, "Daddy, I want to see you." I'm like, "Hey, baby, I'm on the way." Like I don't think of like this is not my weekend type of thing. So it's like it's hard because it's like in that dating cycle, it's like, but I thought you were free this weekend. It's like I mean I was, but now I'm not. So for me, I find peace in that because I'm like, these are moments that I know that when they get older, I understand that I'm not gonna have those moments with them anymore. So I try to cherish those moments as much as I can, but that's very tough for me because like you said, being an actor, I had somebody tell me that like, oh, you an actor, dad. I'm like, well, what the hell does that even mean? Like, what? Like, what you want a part-time? Like, what does that even mean? And when she said it, I was sitting here thinking like, okay, yeah, I'm good on that. But go ahead, King. You got a question?
No, it's I want Asia's gonna give her spin
Oh,
on the question,
right.
and then I'm gonna come back to you. I recently encountered something that I want to ask that is exactly related to what you said, but I'm gonna give Asia the floor, and then I want to go.
Okay. I'm kind of feeling what Britt feels because the way that I'm I stay busy. I stay with responsibilities and all the things. And I think part of it is actually because I'm not married and I don't have kids. The reason why I say that is because I think for a little minute, people automatically thought I was available to do things because I'm not married and I don't have kids.
Right.
And that is number one, annoying. Let me just say that part. It's so inconsiderate. You know what I mean? Like I get so irritated by that. But because of that and the way that I handle stress, I don't handle stress head on all the time. So I just make myself more busy. And so because of that, I realized I don't know how to say um I don't know how to say no to more responsibilities. I can say no to like having to have obligations of like going places and like doing things and like being on the phone. But when it comes to like responsibilities, oh Asia, do you want to do this job? Yeah. Asia, I need you for this project. I'm there. Sign me up. I'm a team
Bag.
player, you know? Um, and I think it's part of it, and I've said this before, like part of it is because I know that I'm friends with people that have, you know, 2 income households and all the things. And so I'm like, yeah, I wanna, and that are in like more of like the corporate world and all that stuff. I'm like, yeah, I wanna hang out too, you know? So for me, I feel that it's like I do love working though, because I love what I do. Like every job that I have, and y'all know I have like 4 jobs, but I love all of them. I yes, I legitimately have 4 jobs, but I love all of them. I love all my jobs.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so for me, would I like to say that I prioritize my peace? I would love to. Do I always do it? No, because as a therapist, especially when all 4 jobs are asking me for documentation and I'm stressed out, none of them care. Like none of them care that I have personal things going on.
Hey, can I ask you a
They
question
just,
from a woman's perspective?
yeah.
Not saying that you are.
Mhm.
Are you aware of the sacrifice of acknowledging that you have no responsibility to anything? Being married or being a mom does not have to define any woman. I'm not saying that, but like when you are the age you are and you're grinding how you are grinding, are there any
Mhm.
obvious sacrifices to you as far as a fulfillment standpoint? Do you feel like you're sacrificing anything right now to do the things that you are doing, or do you feel like what you're doing now is ultimately going to yield the plan that you want? Does that question make
Um,
sense?
yeah. It makes sense. The best way I can put it is I was busy before, but when I was
Mhm,
in a relationship, I was not this busy. Um, I
mhm,
took on more jobs after I had a breakup because once again,
mhm,
that's how I handle stress. I was feeling a void. And it's like if
mhm,
I'm gonna fill a void, I'm gonna make money while I'm doing it.
mhm.
Um,
For sure.
that's how I felt. So for me, I think that when I am in a position of like having, you know, like a partner and stuff like that, my priorities do change, right?
Mhm.
Because I know that I need to, there is some sacrifice that comes with it, right? But when I not having that, I'm not about to be sitting in the house bored all the time when money
For
can
sure.
be made and I can be helping people, right? As a therapist. And so for me, it's like, would I rather be miserable sitting on the couch, or can I do something with my time until the time comes that I'm in a different position?
Can I before you ask the J question or move or whatever, I think it's important to Asia to note that like all 4 of your jobs are therapeutic roles. All
Yeah.
all all 4 of them, right? So
Mhm.
I almost called you something else. What piece are you seriously are you protecting? I don't I think sometimes as and this is just therapeutically speaking, we get on telehealth wherever we see our clients and you're pouring into somebody else that's literally unloading on you, right? And you
Mhm.
do it in 4 different, you got your teens, you got kids, you got adults, you got 8 human trafficking victims. You have a very wide clientele without, whatever. But I think it's important for you to seriously to take a step back, some because I'm listening to you talk and you're keeping yourself busy because of the stress, and this is how you whatever. But at the same time, like you're also may not be noticing how much you can't really protect if you have a sense of peace when you get on the call with a client and then they unload on you and then the next client unloads on you, and it could literally trigger something in you, because we all have similar experiences at some point, whether that's depression, anxiety, stress, whatever it looks like. It's hard for us to then be like, okay, and that's where the burnout comes from. So I feel you when you say, yeah, I want to prioritize it, but I can't. So although like marriage and kids, it can help, but also like your job, your career, like how much does your career impose on your actual peace in itself, and when do we detach ourselves from it?
Yeah, all the time. I was just finding out real quick. It imposes on it every day. But I think that for me though, and just giving clarity also to all of my jobs, I went from doing primarily human trafficking and grief work to then dealing with like, and this is not to minimize anybody's experience, but then to and trauma and like all those things to then working primarily with like, I have work stress and I'm feeling anxious and worried. And so for me, I took it down a level. So I'm not always working with like the trauma and the grief. So for me, that's how I said, you know what, that's the avenue I think I'm gonna have to go in to even find peace. I mean, I don't want to say to find peace because I feel okay, you know. And for me, once again, I prioritize my spirituality. So there's not a Sunday that I'm not in church.
For sure.
Because I don't want to have to deal with other humans all the time. I need, for me, it's like I need to know that there's something greater than me that I can unload on, that's not gonna ask me nothing back. And so for me,
For
I
sure.
think that's why my spirituality really is like such a big part of my life, because that really, really does help to anchor me.
For sure. And so appreciate that, Asia, and salute to you for being able to balance that. I'm gonna ask this quick because I don't want to be long. So I was watching this Jay. This is back to your point, Jay. You said dating right now, you prioritize your girls. You know what I'm saying? And that's one thing that you always bring to the forefront, right? Or they always because of your lack of balance in traveling with working.
Right. Yeah, my work life balance.
They're prioritizing when you come. Say again.
No, you're right.
Yeah. So let me ask you this question, and I'm not being funny. If you meet someone, they know your kids are first, and you potentially get serious with somebody, is there ever a transition to where if that person becomes your wife, that the mantle switches over, or will no matter who you're with next, your kids will always be first? Because what happened was, I saw this thing. Have you ever seen Pop the Balloon? So
I haven't seen it, but I can answer the question when you get done. I haven't seen it.
So essentially, like, there was a lot of dudes saying like, "Oh, I have a child. My child is first." And a lot of popping the balloon means you're not interested anymore. And a lot of women kept popping the balloon.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Okay.
But they were saying like, well, until we get serious, my kids are going to be first. So what I'm asking you, is there ever a transition once you get serious?
There's definitely a transition, and I mean, my kids will always be first. There's a transition, but I think that's not my problem right now. My problem is work-life balance. It's not my kids being first. It's the fact that I travel. I think if I had a job where I was going to work and coming home every day, I don't think that would affect it as much, because I'm not gone all the time. So I think it will be more structured. Obviously, you know, when I find a wife and get married again and all those things things will work itself out, because obviously I would prioritize my wife as well. You know what I mean? It will be a blended family, and if she has kids or don't have kids, whatever the case may be, we'll figure out what that looks like for us. It's just that right now, trying to date, even dating a person with kids, like, everybody's situation with kids is different. You understand? Like, they may have kids, but they may not. They may have their kids full time. So when the weekend comes, let's say the other co-parent gets their kids every weekend. So that means that they're free every weekend. Okay, that's not the case right now. Not saying that I can't do that, because if you're seriously dating, this weekends, even when I have my kids, I still have babysitters, all those things. That's not a problem. But for me right now, if I'm gone for weeks at a time or a week at a time, whether it's my weekend or not, and my girls call me on a Friday and say, "Daddy, I miss you," I'm going to pick them up. Like,
Got you.
it's just the way it is.
Got you.
Yeah.
All right. So it's question number 2 of the night, man. And it's great that Jay, you talking about parenting. So the second question that we have for tonight is, how important is it for kids to see a healthy relationship in a household? And what are y'all thoughts? Not identifying the actual relationship itself, but seeing a healthy relationship. And what are y'all thoughts on parents prioritizing just being a parent, a 2-parent household, over having happiness in their relationship? So again, how important is it for kids to have a healthy relationship coming up in the house?
Mm-hmm.
And what are y'all thoughts on parents prioritizing happiness and prioritizing 2-parent households over happiness? Meaning they want the look of like, nah, both my kid got both their parents in the house, but you really not clicking on the cylinders you need to. What's your thoughts on that?
I think it's so important.
Which one, Princess? Which side, like the healthy or to have the 2 parents?
He was about to tell you.
That
Yeah. Everybody look at Jay.
Being healthy. I think parents underestimate kids picking up on things at an early age. Mm-hmm. And just because you have 2 parents in a household doesn't mean that you're showing them love. Doesn't mean that you're showing them what a healthy relationship looks like. More than likely, you're probably teaching them how to tolerate someone. But you don't realize that that's what you're teaching them, because you think that they're just oblivious because they're 4. But they realize that, like, mommy and daddy don't touch, mommy and daddy don't kiss, but they do it on TV. You know, something's different from what I'm seeing on TV or maybe my friend's parents than what's going on in my home. So that's one aspect of it. And then the second aspect is I'm a firm believer is in, I don't feel like you should stay just for an image. I mean, I'm a product of a divorce, and I say it all the time. I would have never wanted my mom to stay with my dad for the sake of me. I would much rather have seen my mom be happy, whether she was a single mom and struggling. We were all right, but you know, not to say that we didn't have our ups and downs, but I feel like I would have felt so sad having to witness my mom continue to go through things with my dad just to say, oh, I have both parents in the house. Like, that sucks.
If you don't mind me asking, how old were you, Princess?
I was 7.
Okay.
Why did you say it like that? Why did you? This is me and my therapist bag. Why did you say I'm a product of a divorce? Why did you say that?
Because I am. How would you want me to say it? That's not me being funny, but
no, I got you. So when you say you're a product of something, I would like assume that you are a reason or a cause for why it took place, but that's not something that you impacted. That wasn't impacted because of you.
No,
it may have impacted you, but it wasn't impacted because of you. So therefore, you wouldn't be considered a product of it. It just happened, and you were impacted by it. So I'm saying, like, was there a reason why you said it that way?
Because I thought that was the proper way to say it.
Yeah, because Lewis, like,
is she not a product of it though?
Sometimes Lewis, when they say they're a product of their environment,
yeah,
you're affected by your environment. It doesn't necessarily mean you're the cause of your environment.
Yeah, that's the way that I was thinking that I was saying it.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I was just curious.
I'm wrong.
I don't know either.
No,
I
get
took it the way you said it. Yeah.
Because when I heard it, I was like, "What you mean? You was the baby that's caused the divorce? Like you was the side baby?" I didn't know what that meant.
Hey, so Princess, I know I don't really do this a lot, but now I got another question. How old were you when you were able to say that to your mom or your parents? To say like I would hate for y'all to have been together because of me. And is it because you're the youngest you felt that way?
Probably. I would say probably high school.
Mm-hmm.
Because I would definitely say, and not to go into too much detail,
sure.
but 7 years old, elementary school, I was still very, like, I was young. I was a kid. So, like, I still didn't recognize a lot about what was going on around me. I'll put it that way. but it took me some time to get older and actually realize some things that were actually taking place, that I was just like, yeah, no, like we like this didn't need to be. And it just made me, for one, I respected my mom even more, and I appreciated every sacrifice that she made and everything that she did for me, and the decision to leave.
That's real. That's real. That's real.
Appreciate you sharing that. That's real.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Anybody can take the floor. What's y'all thoughts on having a healthy relationship in the home and parents prioritizing having a two-parent household over happiness?
I'll jump in. I think I have a different perspective a little bit because I come from a two-parent home where my parents are still married. Um, it was important for me and my brother to see that, because when I left the bird's nest, excuse me, in dating, um, it was important for me to have a man like my father watching how my dad treated my mom. And even till this day, like, my mom taught me everything I need, or I think I needed to know about being a wife to a husband. But when I had my daughter with a man that was nothing like my father, it was shocker. So, and now having a son in a marriage, in a healthy marriage, the kids are totally different people. When I first had my daughter, she experienced so much at 2, 3, and 4. If I could take it back, I would. So I definitely think healthy and happy is so important, because till this day, she'll be like, she'll do certain things that she remembers that took place with me and her father, that I hated for her to witness, but it was a very toxic, unhealthy relationship. And now we're in a space where 4 years later, where we can actually co-parent and talk. And he does a lot of traveling and stuff for his work, so she's with me a lot of the times, but she goes with him when she can. Um, it's one of those things where even the exchange, like the exchange of her, she's looking for a reaction. What is he going to say to her today? Or how is mommy going to move today? Is she going to roll the window down and say hello? Like, she's watching that. So when she comes back, and there is happy moments where we get out of the car, hey, how's it going? Okay, listen, her stuff is blah, blah, blah. We chop it up and then we go about our way. She has such a healthier experience. She comes back home happy, ready to tell stories, all these things. So it was important for me to have a conversation with him. No, I don't care how many years have gone by. Listen, we got to do this for her, man. I don't care what you got going on. You're happily married. You have your own family. I'm happily married. I have my own family, but I see how it's affecting our kid. So it's important for us we're not a two-parent household. We don't live together. So for her, we got to show what happiness actually looks like, what a blended family actually looks like. We can do this as adults. I know we're oil and water, but for the sake of our kid, we gotta work this out. And then seeing that in her latter years, I guess you can say, it's been a drastic change. Comparing her to my son, who was actually raised into a two-parent household where we're showing the love every day, night and day, man. Manners, thank you, please, love you, kisses, hugs every night. My daughter wasn't doing that, because she didn't see mommy do. She did it to me, with me and her. But even when my husband came into the picture, even probably up until last year, she didn't know how to give him a hug or a kiss before going to sleep, because she didn't know what that was like. She watches her little brother do it, and now she's able to kind of do those things. So I think it's really important to show love and affection in the home, no matter how you raise your kids or how you were brought up. It's so important to break some of these generational curses, if you will, or things you want to pass down to your kids by being the example, man. Happy and healthy is always the best way to go, than versus sticking it out and kind of, like Princess said, you're just tolerating the situation. It's not worth it.
For sure.
That was
Salute.
very good.
Salute to the growth too, man. Salute to the growth, getting to that place where y'all can co-parent and do what's best for the kid, man. That is not always easy, and it does not always happen. So salute to y'all and the spouses on both ends, because it takes a village in that case. Because People could be really negative behind the scenes, but it seems like y'all worked that out. So that's salute to everybody on that note. Jay Lewis.
I think it's definitely more important for you guys to be healthy. My relationship was a bit more unique. I got married at a young age.
That was the Lord cutting him off.
Yeah.
Jay got some
Not the
production.
Lord.
He got some production tricks over there.
Yeah.
Dang.
That's
Yeah,
the
maybe that was him about to lie.
He was about to lie.
I thought he snapped his
About
fingers
to
and
lie, they're gonna cut off on him. Hey, but Lewis, I'm gonna go to you, bro, till we get Jay back.
oh, now you want to hear what I got to say? Nah, man, listen.
I don't want no smoke.
No, I mean it's simple, man. I think happiness to your kids seeing you happy, you got to be your best self, in my opinion, to be able to be a good parent. There are certainly advantages to having a two-parent home. I didn't grow up with one, so it was something I was going to try my best to be intentional about. To all our young folks out here, anybody that you consummate with can be your child's parent. Just remember that. And once yeah, I know y'all laughing. That's the truth though, because
That's a fact.
I'm
No,
gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna be honest with you. I made a mistake, and I was doing some thinking, and I was like, nah, man. If this person would be I wouldn't want that for myself. So, just throwing that out there. But I think absolutely. But there are advantages. Like there are advantages to having a two-parent home. There really are, right? Because we are there's so many nuances to what I think should be done versus what my wife thinks should be done, but we're able to come to those understandings a lot quicker. Let's go in the room real quick before we have this conversation. Like, we're dealing with things with my son right now. We can talk together. Hey, this is what I'm thinking. This is what you're thinking. And then we can go approach it one time together. But if we were apart, I may be handling a situation one way on my end. She may be handling it completely different. We're also able to see the duality in how they approach both of us, right? Mm-hmm. The way my daughter is with me is a little bit different than when she is with her mom. And vice versa. So we wouldn't be able to maybe see that firsthand if we were apart. So I'll speak to the fact that there are advantages, but obviously what's best for everyone is if everyone is doing what is best for them, whether that be apart or together.
Salute.
Okay.
Jay, I know you kind of got cut off. You want to finish what you were saying?
Yeah. And speaking of that, my daughter was FaceTiming me. I'm trying to tell her, like, I was on live.
So you about to go? You about to go?
No. So, given
I ain't know.
Yeah, that's you, wild, bro. Like, hey, my kids come first, chill, bro. No, just
go ahead, bro.
Hey, no. So me, like I said, being in a relationship and married young, like. My kids got to experience both sides of everything because they saw the healthy side of us when we were younger and loving and touching and affectionate. And they saw that and were like, okay, this is what we want. They also saw the downside when we were, spiraling down and kind of at odds a lot and arguing much more than what we were and not ourselves, so to speak. So we became healthier as we became co-parents. And to add to what Lewis was saying, I think it is an advantage of having a two-parent household if both parents are healthy. Mm-hmm. Like if you're not healthy, I think that I can speak for me. That was my end goal. Like two-parent household. Like I didn't grow up with that. So I wanted my kids to have the same father, like same household, like same last name, all of those things. So that way they didn't have to deal with any of those things. Does it always work out like that? No. But you can find ways to become healthy outside of what you thought was going to work. Mm-hmm. That was my biggest problem because my goal was like, no, this is what I feel needs to work. But then you realize you're damaging the kids more. And what Princess was saying earlier too, you're not realizing that these kids are picking up on what's going on. So you don't want your kids to grow up and feel like that, oh, this is the way that I should treat a man, or oh, this is the way I should talk to a woman. Mm-hmm. Because then they're gonna, accept those things, and we have to accept our responsibility that we were showing them those things. So it's just help as long as whether you're separate, whether you're co-parenting or whether you're together, healthy is the key. And you have to keep the kids in the forefront because sometimes when you're in a deep relationship, for me, it was tough because when you get out of a long-term relationship and you start co-parenting, it's tough because everybody, I can't speak for everybody. Your ass don't be thinking about the kids all the time. You be thinking about who they talking to, what the hell going on, who over there. Like, you just go through those things. But when you put the kids really in the front of it, your whole dynamic changed. And once that happened, it was like, oh yeah, it was the healthiest we have ever been. This is, from my perspective. But
For sure. Salute
That's
to you,
good.
bro. Getting to that place, man.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of the things that Jay, I am like how your daughters are. So I had and y'all know, like I had the 2-parent household. My parents were married for 25 years and then got divorced. And so like my parents didn't get divorced until I was in my 20s. And so like I got to see all of it. Us going on family vacations together, the lovey-dovey part, and then literally everything you said, Jay. Like that's how it was in the household until the end. But I think something also about the question about it being like healthy, right? And healthy relationships in the home, as opposed to just the parents and stuff. I think one of the things is for children to see like what actually is a healthy relationship, right? Because it's not just showing the lovey-dovey parts. It's not just showing the I'm a perfect parent parts. Because when your child discovers that you are not a superwoman, a superman, a super perfect person, it literally changes their whole life.
Yep.
Because like, wait, mommy makes mistakes, daddy is not perfect. What? What is the world coming to? And so I think a part of healthy relationships in a home is being able to like still like model for your kids, like, okay, this is what fighting fair looks like, right? Like this is what it's not that y'all never see us argue. It's not that y'all never see, those things, but it's like, no, mommy's upset right now because XYZ, right? And being able to have even like those family conversations, because one of the things that my dad used to do a lot was we would have family discussions a lot. So if there was like an issue or there was like tension or something like that, because my dad realized later on, but he realized it, we could all feel the tension in the house with him and my mom. It's like, y'all are not fooling nobody. Y'all were able to fool us when we were younger, not now. So now we're all walking around the household with eggshells, walking on eggshells because nobody wants to talk about it. So what does that do for the kid? It teaches them that when you're in a relationship with anybody, you know what I'm saying, you don't talk about it, you don't have communication, or then you just wait till the last minute and you lash out. That does not work in a relationship. That doesn't work in the workplace. Nothing. And so I think being able, and it also shows too another part of healthy relationships in the home, because the thing that's interesting is that children notice when, and we've all noticed it, when like our parents might be one way at home, but then the moment they get around certain people, they switch up and they change. And it's like, what is going? Like something's wrong here, right? That's not healthy relationship building. It's just not, because it's teaching kids, okay, you have a mask on, you don't feel comfortable being yourself. Don't show people the authentic you. You don't even know what the authentic you is. And so many of us have fought to figure out who we really are. Part of it stemmed from seeing our parents then change and switch up and all that stuff that they did. That's what, especially in the Black community, it's like, what happens in this house stays in this house. It's toxic as hell. Super toxic.
Yeah.
So I think thinking about healthy relationships is not just about the good stuff, but it's about all of it. Like being able to show how to live life well, how to do things well, how to repair, how to have a rupture and repair, right? How to recover when life actually happens. So I think like even on all sides, I don't think it's just about like just having the parents, whether it's single home, 2-family home, toxic, not toxic, but it's about like, what does healthy relationships actually mean?
I like that. I do want to add on that. I tell and this is one thing I do with my son a lot, particularly him. I'm like, dude, this is my first time being a parent. I'm trying to. We're trying to figure this out. I told him that. I'm like, dude, I'm sorry if I got it wrong. I'm sorry. It's my first time too. I never had a preteen, so we're going through this together. You know what I mean? So dad's gonna get it wrong, mom's gonna get it wrong, but I think what you said was great. I think you have to model behavior, conflict resolution, and the one other piece of it that I think is unique in my situation is because it's a man, woman, me and my wife, and I have a son and a daughter. I can show him how to treat women, like how I treat his mom is how he treats his sister, and how he'll treat any other woman. And same thing for her and him, vice versa. So I cannot explain how valuable it is to ensure that we are both replicating healthy dynamics and relationships amongst each other, not only just for the sake of them and their relationships in life with like their spouse, but also just with each other.
Yeah, no, that's real.
Absolutely.
And I'm gonna tell you, it's crazy something you said, AJ, that just made me think, and now I feel like a dummy for real. Cause like on the other end, so I think we all agree. I think if I'm being I'm gonna be super transparent. I think a lot of people my age prioritize 2-parent households over healthy, and then try to figure out how to be healthy on the back end once you realize just being in the same house ain't enough because it's challenging. What I would say is and I guess everybody kind of alluded to it, but it made me think about my oldest, even though he only 3. Like the stuff I be fussing and fighting with him about in the house, creating an environment or creating a young dude that, age appropriate to do certain things. Like I be fighting and battling him, but when we go other places, I never have that issue. So like realizing that setting him up for success or modeling those things doesn't always mean he gonna do it while he here with me. And it's the craziest thing in the world. Like I've never gotten Cam was a lot this time. Cam is a terrorizer at in Upper Marlboro. You know what I'm saying? But I said that to say healthy for me is almost equivalent to let me say this. I struggle with being a hard ass on my kids and keeping it healthy. Not saying that I do toxic stuff, but I'm saying like figuring out the balance of teaching them things that will help them be successful, but maneuvering into like gentle parenting and all that stuff because I don't believe in all that all the way. You know what I mean? So I think for me, kids having something to look at to give them skills to be successful is the best you could do. And the best advice I can give to anybody that may have kids or think they want to have kids, realize that they have their own brain. They may look like you, they may sound like you, they may do things you do, bro, but they are not you at all. I had to learn that quick, man. They are not you. That brain up top ain't got nothing to do with what you think it got something to do with.
Or if you have multiple kids, they're not the same. Stop trying to treat your kids the same way. Like, I don't care if it is 2 boys, 2 girls, or a boy and a girl, whatever. Daughter and son, or son and son, they're 2 totally different people. And you have to ultimately know your kid. Like, you just got to know your child, what works, what doesn't work. I heard you say gentle parenting. I heard you, and I'm hearing everybody talk about healthy and all this other stuff. Man, there's a lot of things that I could do with my niece and my nephew that I can't do with my own children. Or I've seen my brother do with his niece and nephew that he can't do with his own children. It doesn't work. So finding what works for you, even when it comes down to showing what healthy looks like. I learned with my oldest, transparency is key. She asked some serious questions and I found myself sugarcoating a lot of the times. And she took some of those things for granted. It wasn't until you want to see, let me show you. This is a privilege, right? Not everybody has this. This is what it looks like. So I need you to understand that I will never show her a struggle or sad, whatever. But I do want you to, if you ask, here's what it looks like. I need you to understand what privilege looks like. You are privileged. Not everybody has this, is afforded an opportunity to do X, Y, and Z. And it helped her. It helped her to appreciate better and all these other things. So just knowing your kid, understanding what's age appropriate, but not treating them the same, like you were saying, Keenan, is key too.
For sure.
That is very key.
So because I really do struggle with that. Like, let me be quiet.
No, I was gonna say to Lewis, I felt like it was beautiful what you said about you telling your son like this is my first time doing this. Immediately I thought like neither one of my parents would have ever said that to me. Like I don't know how y'all was raised, but like that type of conversation would not have taken place.
For
It
sure.
was very much so like, I'm the parent, you're the child, what I say goes. So I just thought that it was beautiful just to hear you say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want him to see me as Superman. I want me to see me as human, because if I one thing, and I know that this may sound bad, I remember hearing people say, "Oh, I've never seen my parents fight," right? And I'm like, how in the hell does that work? Because you,
Yeah.
you know, so it's like, I'm like, is that realistic? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But you know, I am stubborn, and I like to be right. I used to like to be right. How about that? Used to be.
Nah, you said it right the first time.
Used to like to be right. No, because I don't value it as much as I used to. But I used to like to be right all the time, and I would be so hard on myself when I would find myself in, you know, I don't want to say, in confrontation. You know what I mean? And but that's okay. And I had to realize too, a lot of the traits that I have, my son has. So I'm creating a false narrative for him too. So I'm like, hey, you know, when we have these moments where we are angst, or we want to make sure, we want to prove ourselves, or show ourselves that we want to be right, or just to be right, like, it's okay to go about it this way. I realized I had to be realistic about who I was, because he possessed some of those same traits, and it's my responsibility to show him how to navigate through that. So to your point, Asia, about the switching up, right? Maybe there was a side of your parent or whomever that person was that they didn't want to show, right? But I think what's important is for them to have displayed how to navigate that in both spaces, how to operate in both spaces. Because if I'm if I'm putting up this front that I'm this perfect person, then it's going to project onto him, and he's going to think he has to be perfect, or my daughter's going to think she's going to have to be perfect, and that's not right. That's not reality. That's not reality.
And I'll tell you, one of the biggest things I see, Lewis, as a challenge is, which why I say I struggle with it. There are so many kids who have great parents, but because great healthy parents, and because their friends don't, they think that their parents do too much because they don't understand what they have at home.
That's what's wrong with my son. Yeah,
and it's no, like, bro, I see it every day where kids, like, I literally say, bro, it couldn't be me. Yeah, I hate him, man. See, I hope none of your friends. I hope none of your friends. but nah, bro. Like, I sometimes I'm in situations, I'm just like, damn, bro. Like, I know my sons are gonna grow up like, man, my pops be doing too much, and it ain't really doing too much. It's really parenting. You know what I'm saying? But in the environment that these kids in, and they get influenced so easily by the internet and other kids, they think you're doing too much, and you really just being a parent. That's why it's so hard for me to not. Because there's certain stuff. I'm gonna be honest. People aren't gonna like this. Princess said it earlier to what you said, Louis, like how she never would have had that conversation in the house, right? It may not be a specific conversation, but there's certain things, bro. Like, no, that's not happening. You're not old enough. You're not those type of decisions you're not gonna make yet. And yeah, we can talk about it and do all that, but I need you to know this is gonna end with you not being able to do it right now. I don't give a damn how you feel about it. You can tell me how you feel. I'm gonna accept that. I'm gonna talk through that. But I'm telling you right now, I'm hearing you out. But it's not changing what the end goal is. No. But tell me how you feel. And in the world, we say again.
So you're not listening.
No, I am, but I feel like this is y'all about to get me in a different bag. I feel like where we mess up as millennial parents, people take kids' expression like you saying a kid expressing themselves. Yeah, they need to do that, but like, do they have the tools, or do they really know what they truly articulating for you to just go with it? You still got to guide them. We dig in this thing of like, I think kids should express themselves.
Yeah.
I think it's important to know how your child feels. I think it's important to have a safe space. But I also think it's important to know like the stages of development from a psychological standpoint to understand where kids are, so you know how to move about how you respond. Just because you say something at a certain age don't mean I'm gonna go with it.
Yeah,
that's just me.
You just got to hear them out. I think they should be heard, right? I think that's the whole point. They want to feel seen, and what you say does matter. How you feel does matter. But however, for your own benefit, this is the direction that we're going to go. As a parent, I'm making that decision right now. But I hear you.
Yeah, I think that's. I think even being able to, like, because I think another challenge with millennial parents from what I have seen. It's just that they want to be their kids' friends. And it's just wild to me because I feel like the younger generation, they legitimately do not respect people older than them. They don't. They do not. And then you have their parents that's just like, well, yeah, like this is exactly how I raised my kid. And so I think it's like it's being able to still provide that structure, right, in the homes. And Keena, to your point, and I'm agreeing with you in all that you said, because it's like you don't see, like, for let's say like a young man that's in football. He might tell the coach whatever he want to do, but at the end of the day, if the coach says run this play or these are the teams that we're going up against, that's what they're going to do. They complain about it all day long, but they know at the end of the day, they're going to do what their coach says, and they respect their coaches. Kids respect their coaches like it's nobody's business, right? And it's like parents are just the coaches of life at the end of it. And it's like, yeah, there are going to be some things that's great. Like, I love you. You're, MVP, best player here, but I'm still the coach.
You know what it is?
That's true.
Wow.
You can see coaches get immediate results. Kids can see the actions of what they're being taught and implemented and executed. As a parent, they won't see the reasons or the logic behind our decisions until years later.
They're older.
And that's why
That's
why it's hard for them to accept. That's why it's hard for them to accept it. I'm a coach and I coach myself. The relationship in that dynamic is way easier than it is at home.
For sure.
Because he could go out and execute and do that thing I told him and it works. Now that trust is there. But at home, he just think I'm being, hard, as Keenan put it. But he probably won't see it until years later.
Yeah, a lot of times we don't realize stuff until we get way older. When I look, like, my mom was very strict, or what I consider strict. But now that I'm older, I'm like, I'm so thankful, especially with the kids coming up now and how much kids are exposed to. And you just never know what other people allow in their homes that your parents or your mom or dad does not allow in their home. And it's like, it's a totally different life. And so I appreciate my mom from sheltering me from that, like that whole spending the night thing.
Yeah.
You had to be a very, very special friend or cousin for me to be spending the night at your house. I could go over there, but I wasn't spending the night. I was coming back home. And I feel like that type of protection is so underestimated in any community, because just think about all the stuff that comes out years later, what happened at these sleepovers or these little parties and stuff. And it's like, I'm thankful now, but at the time it was like, dang, my friend could, like, they always over each other's house on the weekend. They always doing X, Y, Z, and I can't go. But it's like, I appreciate it now because look what they were getting into or what could have happened to me. But like you said, you won't see it until you're way older.
Amen.
And Princess, let me tell you how much you're telling the truth real quick, man. Story real quick. And I'm going to tell you, this was the worst feeling in the world. My son went to daycare 9 months because he was born during the pandemic, my oldest. And when he got to the daycare, being that he was at home with us, he never got like diaper rashes and stuff like that because you super on it when they at home. He go to daycare, he get a little diaper rash. We like, damn. And then, everybody's like, oh, it's normal, da-da-da. Splickety dial, sickety tie yow. Okay, send him back. Next week. His butt red again. I'm like, yo, what? I'm like, damn, we nursed it back to health. So they said, was he the bow? We send him back. I'm like, okay, go. This is like, he been there for like maybe 3 or 4 months. And then like, it was like a real kind of like, hey man, because when you're a new parent, Lewis, to your point, we never seen it. And everybody around us kept telling us diaper rashes were normal. So we like, and then like after a while, I'm like, hey man, we keep sending his ass brown on Monday and it come back red on Thursday, man. So what's going on? So I never forget this. I'm an educator. At the time I was 10 months and she knew our schedule. So the day we got out, I dropped him off. Just shook my hand, woo, 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 bow, bow, bow. I get all the way home and I get a text like, can we talk about your son's placement? I'm like, for what? Like, we have a conversation as YZ, and I was like, hold on, are you talking about like he acting up today? You need me to come get him, or overall? She's like, nah, like overall. So I immediately go like, but let me not cuss. I immediately go like, how do you just shake my hand and see me drop him off and wait till I get home to text me, like, come get him, basically? So, and I'm gonna tie this back into what Princess said. So when we went and got him, I had to get Mother Bear up off of her. She was lighting her up. But then when we got in the car, the feeling I felt not knowing what my kid had went through being in that daycare disturbed me so bad. Because I'm like, damn, dude, what was you going through that I had no idea of? Now the diaper rash makes sense. You sitting in a swing, not been attended to. Now all these other things that make sense. And I said that to say, Princess, when you going, when parents protect their kids, is really out of our peace of mind, right? Because I didn't know what he was going through. And when my mind started going to what the hell was happening to my kid the past 4 months, well, I want to do something to somebody. But like, no, I don't play that. And now we about that action.
Got that action.
Yeah, for sure. My bad. But I just said it to say, like, no, that protection piece is big, man. Because kids don't always know how to articulate what they're going through. Even though he was
especially
a baby, like, still.
That's real.
Yeah. All right, my bad. That's my rant, Asia. My fault.
You good? No, you good. All right, so thinking about something we talked about earlier actually, with like creating boundaries and stuff like that and protecting your peace. Have y'all ever had to create a boundary with someone that like you really rock with, like you love, but you had to create that boundary because you changed and they don't respect the fact that you've changed?
Yeah.
Say names.
Let's say names. Nah, I can answer that.
Louis, what you shaking your head at?
I was listening to Jay.
Oh,
You went out again?
Yeah, I was. I actually had to do that recently with a friend, Asia, one of my close homeboys. I had to set a boundary, because what people love to do is they love to remember who you were, and they will remind you every chance they get. And it's like, you've graduated from that moment. You were just in that moment in time, and things may have been happening that were, not who you were growing to be. And it's like, people will be like, oh, you acting brand new. Like you used to. And it's like, you had to realize that people want to remind you of that because that's what they remember you at, because that's what made it comfortable for them. And a lot of people don't like change around you. Once I started to elevate, it made them feel insecure about a lot of different things. And once I realized it was their insecurities they were dealing with and they were projecting it on me, I just had to set that boundary of like, nah, I'm good with sharing that information with you as far as business opportunities. And I'm good with just sharing like my accomplishments because I feel like I'm bragging. When in actuality, I'm just trying to share these things with you because I thought you were a person that I could trust. So once that boundary was set, though, I've been good.
And I think, Jay, to your point, I think it's important to set those boundaries, right? Because it's easy to weed out who your real friends are and who they're not. People have a hard time believing that you outgrow friendships. I'm a firm believer in that, because if I have to set a healthy boundary, right, for me, because we're not on the same page anymore, and you just decide to completely disconnect, or we're not seeing eye to eye, and then it ruins however many year friendship, then what were we really friends? Like, what were we doing? Were we just existing in the same space because we were so used to doing the same things? But when somebody turns the page and you're still in the last chapter, it's not fair for me to stay back to allow you an opportunity to catch up, or vice versa, right? I just don't think your friends are truly your friends if they can just walk away if you're turning the page, right? After I set this healthy boundary, let's talk about it. Okay, cool. This, you over here, I'm over here. We understand what our friendship dynamic is, versus this ain't working for me, I'm gonna cut you off. Okay, then our time has come. The season has passed, and let's just move on from it.
Bert, can I ask you a quick follow-up probing question?
Yeah.
What about when nobody's obviously outgrown the other one and people have just changed? Like, there's no obvious discrepancy of where we're at and we've just changed. Is it still a situation where, like you said, you're a firm believer in friends outgrowing each other, right? I do. But I think a lot of times, things can change without one of us growing necessarily. You know what I mean? So what about when things just change versus there's an obvious person who outgrew the other one. Is that still handled the same way?
That's hard for me to answer only because I believe change comes with growth. Like I mean, you'd have to give me an example of what change would look like where you're not growing in that situation. You're not learning from that.
You could change for the worse.
No, you can though. You absolutely can though. So I was thinking like, just say the things that you I use this. No, let me not use that.
Merch, if you change for the worse, would that show you the growth?
Exactly. I mean, he was breaking up, but I think you were saying
if the person. Go ahead, Brittany.
No, Jay.
What I'm hearing, what I was about to respond to Princess is if they change for the worse, that means the other person is growing. You've shown me your true colors. I've learned from this experience. What can I gain from what can I gain from this change that has occurred? That's growth to me. That's a level of growth to be able to move past it and understand what that looks like.
Moving past it is growth, but if somebody changes for the worse, that does not mean I've grown.
Because I could still be in the same spot, but you're just going backwards.
But okay. But I feel like
you're not in the same spot.
Your audio keep chopping in and out, Jay. Say it again. Your audio keep chopping in and out. We can't hear. I'm not being funny.
I get what you're saying about the growth situation, but if they're like changing for the worse, you didn't necessarily change the position, but there's going to be separation in between to where it's going to essentially not be the same no matter what. So you didn't necessarily grow in that moment, but you outgrew that situation because it's not the same situation anymore.
Okay.
And your maturity levels, like I mean, I don't know, those types of things, those levels of change for me, that's what affects how I move and how I quote unquote outgrow friendships, relationships.
Okay. Salute.
But I guess so. If it was that situation, Brett, is it just you're done with that person, or do you say, hey, like you changed for the worse? I'm not really on that. Love you, but gotta love you from a distance, or is it just cut off?
I'm definitely one of those that I'm gonna love you I'm gonna put you over here, right? I'm gonna love you from. I'm not about to do this with you because we're not on the same page. And if you can't respect that, or if it gets to a point where we're just like oil and water, like I said before, then let's just live how we live separately. That does not mean that I don't care about you less. That does not mean that I love you any less because we did share something. However, we're just not seeing eye to eye. My life is over here and your life is over there, and it's not mixing well right now. I still care about you, but I can't. We don't have to talk and move every single day.
Sure. Lewis?
I just cut people off or they cut me off. It is what it is.
You know the crazy part? Lewis really telling the truth, bro. Like it really is that cut and dry. You want to know what I think about when I hear this question that I've learned in my adulthood? Everybody not my friend for real. Like my friends, I'm gonna kind of ride through that spell. Like my friends go through something, they change, we're distant. One of us are outgoing the other. We in different seasons. If you my friend, I owe it to you to ride for a bit. Let me see what's going. Let me see what's going on. Let me have some conversations. Let me see if you just in the moment, a season. You know what I'm saying? And you're gonna come out the back end. Because I think me being older now, man, the value. My friends are damn near closer than my family. I'm gonna be just kicking to you real. Like the conversations I have with a lot of people are my friends. You know like the two on this call. Like we talk about real life stuff. So people like that, we can have a very different season. And let me be very clear and transparent. Like I even like, and Lewis, I don't mind if you don't mind me putting us out there. Like me and Lewis have probably reconnected and been talked way more in the past 2-3 years than we talked in the first 10. You know what I mean? But I feel like because we were actual friends, what was happening and how we were evolving in between there didn't make us feel like we weren't that anymore or gotta love you from a distance or gotta do that. Now, If he was somebody else, I'm just like, oh damn, no, I won't talk to them no more. But if you would have asked me during that span, like, how Lewis, oh shit, he was good last time I seen him. You know, he doing him workaholic. Like, it's not going to change. I'm not going to act like I'm not cool with him. And I think the biggest thing is like with I don't know if I set the right boundary. And the reason why I'm saying I'm gonna put myself out there, like, I don't know when somebody's hurting, and I know they're hurting, and I know they're going through something, or I know you're different because of something very specific. I'm not gonna act like I'm gonna prioritize what I feel like I know what's going on when I know you hurting for real. I'm not setting no boundary there. I'm gonna be your friend. I'm gonna ride with you. I'm gonna see what's going on. I'm gonna stay up late. I'm gonna talk to you on the phone for hours. I'm gonna give you advice, and I will say like, hey, you know, it may be a slight boundary, like not right now, bro. Like I can't do it today, but I'm right back at it the next day. And I think the biggest thing that I'm trying to represent in this dissertation that I'm speaking on is like the word friend cannot be undervalued, and I think people throw around friend way too loosely because everybody that you talk to, everybody that you in group chats with ain't your friend for real. That's my spiel.
No, that's good. Something to that point, Keenan. Like one of my mentors, she always says you have people that's in the outer courts, the inner courts, and your holy of holies, right? And like her whole point is exactly what you just said. I think sometimes we also, just because we go through different seasons with friendships, it does not mean that their position in your life does not change.
For
right?
sure.
So like there are some people that it's like, okay, when we were younger, yeah, you were my best friend, right? Like I have two of my childhood best friends that they are no longer friends anymore. Right. And it went from like they didn't have a conversation. It's actually so sad because there's three of us. But but for them, yeah, like but for them it's like both of them are like, no, like one of them is just feels like, you know what, over time I realized my definition of friendship is not the same that it was 20 years ago. And even if the person themselves did not change, my definition of what a friend is has changed because my needs of what I need in a friend now is very different than it was when I was in high school. In high school, I might have just needed somebody to kick it with, that we could go places with. And I'm like, yo, you trying to ride? And they're with me. As an adult in our 30s, I don't need that right now. I need somebody that I can have the hard conversations with that's going to hold me accountable. And so sometimes it's not even just like people, Keenan, this goes to your earlier question, right? It's not about necessarily people changing sometimes. It could just be that my definition of friendship has changed and you no longer fit what I need in a friend, right? Even though you're cool, like nothing. So now you've gone from as my mentor would say, my holy of holies to maybe the outer courts. And if I see you, it's nothing but love, but you're not my go-to anymore, like you used to be, right?
Sure.
And so I think that's one of the things. And like another thing, real quick, I was having that I was having that challenge recently, like straight up, like my sister. I walked into a situation. I was like, I don't know if today's going to be the day that we're no longer friends. And it was because like we were having conflict that number one, I actually didn't know we were having conflict, but we were. But going into the conversation for me was like, you know what? I wonder if it's because our paths are we're just going in two different directions. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like, I'm obviously, and I talk about it more on the pod, like I'm growing more spiritually, right? And she is not. And that's cool, you know? And so there's certain things that like I used to do that I don't do anymore, you know? And so I came into the conversation like, dang, I feel like she's gonna think that I'm not doing the same things that, you know, that we would used to do together. And she on her end told me she was feeling like she felt the same way, right? That I was gonna be like, nah, like you doing the most, I'm not there. You know, with that, the conversation did happen. Princess, to your question, like the conversation happened because that's my sister. Like I wasn't about to not have that conversation with somebody that I feel is like one of the closest people to me, right? But then seeing how there are other people, like my childhood best friends, that they did not have the conversation. It was straight up just like, oh, your wedding's coming up, I'm not going.
Yeah.
And that was it, like for real, you know. It was very sad, y'all. Like we're still going through it, and I'm just in the middle of it. But to see that play out. Like, it's sad, but I can't fault either one of them. You know what I'm saying? So,
Princess, I remember you asking Brittany a question, but did you give your perspective on the question?
No, not outside of chiming in.
Do you want to?
Not really.
Damn.
I ain't trying to get nobody in trouble. I ain't trying to get nobody in trouble.
Boundary.
All right. So the question to end the night, we can kind of shift gears to something that another debate. But I want to get you all's perspective on this. That's kind of really outside of the box of we've touched on it before. We haven't touched on it tonight, but this is the kind of closer question. What are y'all thoughts on people having specific types and not types of just like, oh, I like tall, skinny? What do y'all thought? Is it just as bad to date a certain shade of a color than it is to only date one race? So if you have a type to the point where you only date a certain shade of a color, is that just as bad as like saying I only date said race? Is that in the same realm? What is y'all thoughts with somebody having specific types with specific colors and specific traits only? Is that just as bad as I only date this race? Does that question make sense?
Yeah. Not for too much. Are you saying like different shades of like I only date light-skinned women versus I only date black women?
No, I'm saying if you were to say I only date light-skinned women, is that just as bad as the person saying I only date an Asian woman?
Isn't that the same as
It's
what
the
Jay
same.
said,
It's
though?
the same thing, Jay. It's the same thing. He just used a different race.
Yeah.
I was trying to make sure that
No,
I heard
I didn't take
like,
it as that. You use black, you use light skin and black. So I was like, that's the same race. But okay, yeah. But yeah, we there, Jay.
No,
We there.
but that is different though, Keenan.
Okay, I'm with it.
Because someone's type, if they are dating a black woman or whatever, could be like, I only date light-skinned women. Like, I don't fool with dark-skinned women. Is that statement worse than saying I only date black women?
That was y'all tell me.
I know, but I'm just saying that's what Jay was saying. And you said,
oh, my fault. Okay, yeah. So Jay, yeah, that's what we're talking about. Tell me your thoughts on that.
I don't think that I had to think about it for us because I don't really think that. I think everybody had a preference, to be quite honest, and to be quite honest, for me, when people say like you have maybe Asian people or right, if they say they only date within their race, and a lot of them do, right, I feel like that's what they choose to do, and I don't see anything wrong with that because I've never dated outside my race. It's not that I didn't have options to do that, but I'm gonna be honest with you, I just love black women, so it's like that's my preference. So I don't want it to be frowned upon, and it's not like I don't have a preference of like light skin, dark skin, those things.
So I'm not standing in that regard.
No, yeah. Hold on. Let me say this real quick because I think like what Keenan said was actually correct. So because by Jay saying like light skin, dark skin women, and then saying is that the same as saying I only date black women? That's a whole different question than what Keenan's asking. What Keenan is asking is like, is you saying I only date as a black person that only dates black women, right? But if you say I only date light-skinned black women, is that just the same thing, or is that worse or better or whatever as you then saying somebody that then says I only date white women? Meaning like it's like because black is still, if you say light skin, that's still in the realm of saying you date your same race.
Correct.
But is that the same as somebody then saying like, no, I only date outside of my race, as far as like the preference goes, to your point, right? Because your argument is, well, yeah, I would just date, they're still black. That's not what we're asking. We're saying like, it's like, you're specifying you only date dark skinned women. That's it. Is that the same or worse as you then saying, you know what, I only date outside my race, let's say?
No.
That's not as bad.
No, it's just, you're not about to go to a damn BMW dealership and be like, I think I'm gonna look for a Honda. I mean, if you specifically like BMW, that's just what you like.
Okay, somebody else.
Hey Jay, I get what you're saying. That makes sense.
Yeah.
You're just not gonna do that. So is it bad? No, I don't think that it's bad. I just think that's your preference. So I don't. If I said that, and then in the same breath, let's say I only like dark skinned women. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the light skinned women might be mad. I get that. That's cool. But the guy that says I only date white women, okay, I don't see what the problem is, I guess. And the question, I don't see what, for me, it's not.
And that's legitimate. If you don't, you don't.
Yeah, that's my personal opinion. I don't see what's wrong with it, personally. You like what you like.
Lewis, Princess, Brittany.
I got me a preference, but it ain't about no complexion. But I will say,
yo, I hate you.
I will say,
I hate this dude, bro. I hate this dude, bro. I hate him. I told y'all when we did that blind date episode, I told y'all I know how to keep Lewis at the table.
Nah, I will say, man, I mean, man, you got, listen, I used to feel some type of way about that because I used to feel some type of way about that. It didn't really impact me, but yeah, I used to feel some type of way, but at the end of the day, that person has to be the
you being categorized, or you categorize it, or
I'll say a little bit of both. I'll say it was a little bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say it was a little bit of both. Now, I never was able not to I never had any trouble.
Mm-hmm.
You know, back in the day, long time ago. Mm-hmm. I never had any trouble.
Like 2020, 2019.
Yeah, no, you try to give me long time ago.
He the feds, man. He the feds. You gotta watch it. He the feds.
Yeah, never had any trouble, but I used to have I used to just think that way. But I think, man, I used to feel some type of way. But at the end of the day, that's who that person has to deal with. They gotta look at it. They gotta wake up beside that person. So you have a right to be picky about who you choose to spend your time with. And why would I? If I'm not your preference, or if you're not choosing me, okay, you're not changing my life any. So other people's preferences don't impact me at all. So I don't see it as an issue.
Okay. Okay. Princess Brittany.
I just think for me, like I say, I only date black men, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like that it would also be different if I said I only dated white men or I only dated Asian men.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not white and I'm not Asian. So
you saying because we're black saying it is the difference.
Right. Just like if it was a white person saying I only date black women or I only date Asian women. Like I feel like it makes it a little bit more complex when it's that you're going against your own race. And so it makes me say, what is it about your own race that you don't want to date your own race? Because it's not about, like, for me, it's not about you saying that you only date one race. Because some people, they don't discriminate. Like, it doesn't matter to them. But if you're going to say that you're only going to date one race, then why is it not your race?
Love it. Okay. Salute.
I'm gonna say something to that real quick though, because for me, and I thought about this, and I don't know where I stand to be honest, but because there was a time that I would only date dark skinned men, like that's it. I was like, if you're not dark, don't even look over here. And for me, it was like the darker the better. Like no, for real. But it was because and granted, like my father is light, right? But I realized it's because I was teased for being like a white girl. So for me, I felt like if I dated a darker man, that it almost like validated my proximity to blackness. So that's what it was for me, right? But in that, and what to Princess's point, and this is why I'm like, I don't know where I stand. But it's like even in you saying like, as a black person that only dates, like now I'll as long as they're black, I'm cool. But like for me, if I say I only date dark skinned men, then isn't that just being colorist even within my own race? Like I feel like that's still bad because now it's like you're still excluding. I feel like it's even worse. I feel like it's worse to then say like, you know what, I'm with my people, but only these people of my people. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah.
Then what's
I feel
wrong with
like
the light skinned man?
I feel like it's
Yeah,
okay
what's
to
wrong with
have a
the?
preference, something that you're more naturally attracted to
For
within
sure.
your race.
Mm.
Yeah.
But to say
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah.
only going to date a light skinned man or I'm only going to date a dark skinned man, that's very much so different than saying I prefer a light skinned man.
Right.
That's very different.
For sure.
What's
For sure. For sure. For sure. For sure.
You said what's
What?
different? Because if I say I
Yeah,
prefer a
you
light
like what you.
skinned man,
What if you're not attracted to light? Yeah, what if you're not attracted to light skinned men?
you said what if I'm not attracted to the light skinned man?
Mhm.
Yeah, you prefer dark skinned men. You're not attracted to light. What's wrong with you?
So the difference is basically like, let's just say I am only attracted to the light skinned man. That doesn't mean that I'm saying that I'm absolutely excluding the dark skinned man. Like when you say you only date light skinned men, that is saying that you are excluding brown skinned and darker skinned men altogether. I can have a preference without excluding the others.
What I'm saying.
Mhm.
What's wrong with excluding? What's wrong with excluding that?
So
That's what Asia was just saying about like that's like colorism
for sure.
within your own
It
race.
it it is, and then you can't then say I only like I wouldn't be able to say if I only date dark skinned men, right? I then can't say I only date black men. I cannot say that because I don't.
Right.
At that point, I'm only dating dark skinned
Dark
men.
skin. Dark skin black men.
I
So we're
can't then
saying
say
that.
I'm dating black men.
Yeah.
Hey
We're
Jay,
saying,
we couldn't hear you. Say what you said again.
We're saying that it's we're saying that it's colorism, not that that's your preference. Is what we're saying.
So Jay, I think the thing is that Princess
So,
and Asia are saying it becomes that when you separate it with the only,
Mhm.
because you're now
So
identifying
you
a
have a
color.
that you like as
Say
a
again.
person. That you like
Say
a
that
color
again.
that you like as a color that you like as a person,
But this is
which
the
is your
thing.
life. You have a choice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So how is
Yeah,
that
I don't.
colorism when it's your preference?
Because it's not
It's
a
So
So
preference
I
of
think the thing is not your preference, Jay.
how
When you say only, okay,
okay.
a preference. I prefer to drink Coke, but if they got Pepsi, I'll drink it.
But if you only prefer to
Hold
drink Coke,
on,
don't like.
Jay. Hold on, Jay. I only
Uh-huh.
drink Coke. That's not a
Mhm.
difference.
The difference is you only want to drink Coke. That's the difference. It's not that Pepsi
right. So
you only want to
Jay,
drink Coke.
I get that point, right? But what I'm saying is that then if I were to then pass you a Sprite because that's all I had, or I say Dr. Pepper rather, because that's dark. If I then
Right.
give you a Dr. Pepper because that's all I have, you just won't drink anything. And you're just like,
Nah,
you know what? No, because if it's not nothing, I will just go, I'll just be thirsty. I don't want it because it's not Pepsi or Coke or whatever you said.
Mhm.
That becomes at that point you are then saying this particular soda is higher than, has more value to, I will only interact with this particular thing. I'm purposely excluding, even if these people want my attention, even if they're coming to me, even if they're nice people, I'm still excluding them based on the fact that it's a light-skinned person or a dark-skinned person, whatever your preference is. That is colorism.
but I mean I get that point. I think to me it's still you're excluding those people because you know what you want. And I don't see anything wrong with that. I don't if you offer me Dr. Pepper, but I only drink Coke, and I respectfully like, no, it's cool, I appreciate that, but I don't drink Dr. Pepper. That's nothing wrong because I only drink Coke. I'm not excluding Dr. Pepper. I'm not saying I don't want Dr. Pepper. That's not my preference.
Yeah.
So I have a right to, as a
So
person,
Jay, I'm not gonna lie.
have a
I really do understand what you're saying. I do understand
Yeah.
what you're saying. What I would chime in and say, and I'm not even trying to debate on how you feel about your type or your preference. What I will say is that I think the fact that the type is strictly bounded by a skin color is the thing of colorism. Like it's not bounded by anything else. It's strictly bounded on a color. And the question the question was created because, to give a little, back thought, is like, a lot of other ethnicities don't deal with the colorism we do within our own ethnicity. So somebody eliminating a part, whether it be the light skin, dark skin, or the different shades, eliminating a shade of black and saying only this kind of holds the same power as saying I only do this over here. We're still excluding. You know what I mean? Like if you were to say you only date another race, you would not identify that race as a separate color.
But
within that race?
Wouldn't you want to be excluded from a situation that they don't want you to be a part of anyway?
What you mean?
If they don't like dark-skinned guys anyway, wouldn't you want to be excluded from being involved with a person that doesn't like dark-skinned guys?
So that's not the issue. The issue is that doesn't change from being colorism. I get what you're saying, but it doesn't. Like two things can be true. You can have you can have that perfect. Say again.
I said I don't see how that's colorism when they made a choice and that's their preference. I have to respect their preference, but
it's colorism within it though.
Yeah.
But it's colorism. Yeah. It's rooted in colorism though, right? It may sound bad, it may not be intentional, but it's still the act of colorism, even though that is a preference. So two things could be true, is what Keenan's saying.
Right.
Yeah, like you can absolutely have the preference, but it doesn't change it being colorism at all.
Correct.
And I'm gonna tell you how I learned that. Story time. No lie. And then I know we almost hit in 2 hours, but this is how I learned it. At A&T in the African Studies class, I was dating my wife now. My wife I was ignorant then. And somebody said, like, the question that was asked was like, when you think about black, what do you think about? And me being dumb, trying to be a class clown, I was like, light skin with beautiful eyes. But I was talking about my girlfriend. And they jumped on me. Why she gotta be light skinned? And I didn't understand what they meant, because in my mind, I wasn't separating the two. I was describing who I was with. But it was very much true what they were saying and what they jumped on me for. Because I separate, like, black is more than just a tone type vibe. You know what I'm saying? So I got lit up because I had said that. That's a true to the point where the professor was like, Keenan, you can walk out right now if you need to, bro. He's like, you come back, man.
Hey, does Brittany still know she light skinned, or does she admit it now, or what?
She still say brown. She will not say that. My wife, she be like, no, I'm brown. Don't call me that. No lie. It's crazy that you remember that, bro. Nah, she won't. She said,
but that's a thing. Like, and I do want to say this real quick before we end. Like, thinking about the fact that she's like, no, like, I'm brown skin, right? Because when we think about blackness, for real, and historically, at first it was like lighter skin was praised. And then, and that's why that's why sometimes even saying, like, if somebody were to say, I only date light skin, people would think that's worse than somebody saying, I only date dark skin. And it's because historically speaking, darker skinned people were marginalized more so within the black, within the black community. And so that's why when I was only dating dark skinned men, nobody questioned it. Like, it wasn't like a what? Like, you did what? And it's like, yeah, but by me then saying, like, and this is the colorist part, by me saying I was only dating, or why I was dating dark skin was because I felt like it was bringing me closer to blackness, right? Or that then means what? Light skinned men then don't validate my blackness? Like, that's crazy, right? So, like, think about. But I think because of, like, historically speaking, I think that's why it is seen as colorist. Either way, but.
And I have another perspective to add from, like, the older generation, right? So my mom is in her 60s, and I get on her all the time because when it comes to using emojis, my mom uses the lightest emoji. No matter how many, and she's in her 60s, right? So you got to think of the generation that she grew up in, to Asia's point, being darker, because my mom is darker than me. So being darker, that was not a good thing growing up in the 60s.
For sure.
And so when it comes to emojis, she used the lightest emoji, and I'm always like, Mom, you are not that color. Like, you're darker than me. And she always goes, no, I'm light skinned. And I'm like, no, you are not, Wendy. And it's like, in her mind, she feels like if she could claim the lighter tone, then it's better for her. And you can just tell how that has translated, you know, years. Like she's in her 60s now, but I can only imagine what it was like for her growing up during that time. You know, with a darker shade, that like she probably did wish that she was lighter growing up in the 60s. So I mean that's just a different perspective on it.
No, that's real. That's real. That's real. And when that information or that perspective gets transferred, because it was the same thing for my grandparents. Like that gets transferred to us when they believe in it. We're raised, you know, it may not be saying directly, but you know, we start to think that way based off that being our house. Brittany, I didn't hear your perspective before we close out. I'm sorry. Did you mute because you don't want to say nothing?
I don't have an opinion. Light skinned men are a headache.
Whoa,
Damn, Lewis.
Well,
Hey, on this.
Hey, Jay, what you say? Shots fired?
I would
Damn.
have to agree with you, Brittany, but I'm not excluding them. I would still date them, but they are a headache.
I mean, I don't think we can end it no better way than that. So appreciate everybody tapping in with us tonight. Hey, we are the Monday Night Crew. It's your boy K. Mims. I got the ladies of the show, Princess, Brittany, and Asia, and my bros DJ J Dub and Lewis, man. And we are out.